Well, Arkansas does almost everything right and gets the first conference win by defeating Missouri 87-43. This is Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Daniel Price. That's Jacob Price. We're going to break it down. And I mean, okay, let me just start with this. I am really glad. I mean, like that, you watch that performance, and it would be easy to discount it just super hard, and that's what you'd be prone to do if Missouri hadn't just got done scoring 92 points and beating Alabama, which makes this more difficult to understand. Like if you don't have that game going into this game, I think this breakdown is different, because you just be like, well, that's just the worst team in the SEC, I think, right there. And they might be, but at least you know that they're capable of not just beating someone. Maybe someone comes in and shoots terribly, like, oh yeah, they beat Alabama, they beat them 50-58. No, they beat them and they scored 92 points on them. And if nothing else, that lets you know. And of course, Musselman's pouring over those tapes, and it's the thing that, because you might just be like, did Arkansas play incredible defense, or is Missouri terrible? And Missouri might be offensively limited, and I think that they are. But Arkansas's defense was spectacular from the jump, I thought. And that really was a difference in the game, because it wasn't like we scored 100 points or something. We scored 87. I just thought I thought our defense, especially like the first 15 minutes, the first half, especially the first 3/4 of the first half, was just we were everywhere. And he started a different lineup. I think that's why he had Jackson Robinson pulled out of the starting lineup. He had Johnson in the starting lineup. And I think that he was determined. Trey Wade was in there. He had some hustlers in there, and it seemed like he was going out there to be like, you know what? I don't know what our best offensive lineup is, but I'm just gonna put some dudes that are gonna play ball out there. And by play ball, I mean get after it on the defensive end. And they were just everywhere. That looked miserable to play against if you were Missouri.
Yeah. I have to admit, like, for me, that this is going to be the worst game to analyze, because it's hard for me to figure out what happened. You know what I mean? Like what was that?
And doesn't the fact that they just scored 92, that team scored 92 points on Alabama a couple of days ago, make it even more confusing and more difficult?
Yes. No, for sure. It definitely does. If it wasn't for that, it would seem like that team must just be super slow. Like they must be slower than they look or something. Like they're just not capable basketball players. But I don't know. Actually, I wanted to, before we get too far along, I just feel like I want to say, because I'm not sure, we start to ramble. I'm not sure how long anyone actually listens towards the latter half, but we've gotten a little bit of small bit of traction with these videos, the last couple, getting a couple hundred people watching, which is honestly kind of almost embarrassing, or humbling, because we just call each other and talk like this after every Arkansas game, and then we just decided, let's just record them and put them out there. And the fact that anyone actually gives us the time or wants to listen to it, and then people left some nice comments. So if anybody enjoys it, like, it's very nice. And I just wanted to I mean, it's just cool, because I mean, I didn't really expect to. So
yeah,
anyway,
yeah. Thank you very much. The day we're recording this, 13 people have subscribed to this channel. That means that there's 13 people that are interested, and that's cool, because we were going to do this over the phone. We just hit record anyway, and it's cool that 13 people, never mind a couple hundred views on stuff. So if you've watched it or you subscribed, yeah, thanks. That's cool. And if you do like it a lot, maybe, I don't know, if you have friends that like basketball, if you think this is worth anything, then if you share it, thank you for that too.
Yeah, like I said, it actually surprised me. So, and like I said, knowing you're speaking to more than just one person is kind of weird. But anyway, yeah, from the jump, it was hard to it's weird when guys aren't scoring or they're having difficulty scoring. It feels like it's easier to analyze what's happening because you can see the mistakes. But when they're knifing through the defense and getting all the angles, I mean, that first half, it was just like every player just had the angle. They got the corner. They turned around. You know, they were, the jump shots were dropping. Like everything was flowing, and that was one of the first times where once after the first like 2 or 3 minutes, the whole team defensively and offensively, it was everything we've been talking about, that ineffable energy where they caught the ball and it was just snapping. And you could see the way they pivot, the way they turned, like everything about it was just the wrists were snapping, there was bounce in everybody's joints, you know what I mean? Like, and I mean, maybe a more intelligent or person could find a better way to describe that, but that energy is just, it hasn't been there. It's been, I mean, we haven't looked as bad as Missouri looked, but I did feel bad for them. I mean, dude, that first quarter at, with 10 minutes and like 50 seconds left, I turned to my wife and said, if they don't score another bucket before this gets below 10 minutes, it might be the lowest scoring quarter of college basketball I've ever seen. I've never seen a team score 3 points and that's it in an entire quarter of basketball. And I remember some really frustrating Arkansas games where I was like screaming at the TV, like, you can't score more than 7 in a 10 minutes or whatever. But 3 is low. I mean, they did get fouled with 12 seconds before that and hit 2 free throws, but still, that was,
and it was a combination between, like, they weren't making shots for sure, and there weren't no shots to have. I mean, there was no good shots to be taken.
It was both things.
We had 13 steals in that game. Not that they had 13 turnovers. They had way more turnovers than that. We stole the ball from them 13 times.
Oh, dude. I mean, the reason I say I felt bad for them is because what's been happening to the Hogs for small periods, like the first 5 minutes of the second half of the last couple of games, where the other team gets their groove on, and then you feel that pressure and everything starts to kind of like, the ball just sticks and they look clunky and you make bad passes and shot clock winds down and someone just jacks it up. Like, it just, there's no flow there. That's been happening to us, but we've at least kept it to, maybe 5. Like, I mean, they're bad because they're what lets teams jump out on you, and those teams get, well, I mean, we gave Vanderbilt life at the beginning of that second half, but this was just such a tidal wave that just snowed them under, dude. I guess that would be an avalanche, but it just snowballed on them, and they forgot how to play basketball. Like, now part of it, like I said, the defense was great because we had the opposite energy and everybody was faster than they were.
And I do think that was it seemed to me, I thought it immediately when the starters came out. I saw that Jackson Robinson, this isn't a slight on Jackson Robinson or anything like that, but Musselman seemed to think that he wasn't listening to you and me, and was like, let me figure out how we gonna like get some point, and make someone into a point guard or whatever. He said, I'm gonna put my grittiest, scrappiest, getting on the flooriest dudes on this in this. I mean, Mari Johnson, by the way, I don't know. Did he get hurt? Like, I didn't see him again after he looked like maybe he tweaked something. I hope not, because I thought he really brought some energy at the beginning. Trey Wade, of course, Jalen Williams, always going to be that guy. Of course, you're going to start Note, which you might not think he's that guy, but he leads the SEC still in steals. So he is that dude. You're starting all of them dudes. And then Tony, as he's going to scrap. And I mean, is that the solution for going forward? I don't know. Looked good tonight. I know if I was him and I'm heading into LSU on Saturday, I'm probably just sending those 5 guys out there again.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, because they did start so well, it's hard to know.
Because that's not a great offensive lineup. They just jacked you up on defense and got buckets. And
well, and like I said, after the first 5 minutes, and I'm not trying to take away from what Arkansas did, but Missouri guys straight up forgot to play how to play basketball. Like they could barely walk out there. I mean, the ball was hitting their hands were stone. I mean, a couple of times they caught the ball and like you said, those steals, they literally turned around and our guys just were like took the ball from
How
them.
many steals did Devo have? I felt like every time they tried to pass the ball into the high post, Devo was like, "I'm going to take that away from you."
But you know what
I
I'm saying? Like some of it was that, some of it was our guards were all over the place and they were getting hands and everything. But there was a time or two, there's one particular time where a guy caught the ball and he just like turned into Williams. And I think Williams just was like, it just looked like he handed him the ball because Williams just like as he turned, just grabbed it and pulled it out of his arms. It's like,
you know the D is clicking when you think that Missouri's about to get a layup and Chris Like says, "I don't think so," and swats you. I mean, when Chris Likes is getting blocks, like the defense is clicking.
if I was, and when, even though like the first 10 minutes were great, and when we got up by 20, which is probably in the first 6-7 minutes, my question was, I was like, man, I hope we can sustain this because this is one of those, that happens a lot where you can see that early lead and then the team comes back down to earth, the momentum starts to shift, they get it down to 13, and then all of a sudden you start to grip and then it goes below 10 and now you're panicking and like the whole thing turns around. This didn't ever, it was never ever in doubt. If I was Missouri, I would have asked if we could just forfeit after like when there was 10 minutes. It's like we're this game.
How rare is it at halftime of a game when the analysts aren't like, what do they have to do to get back? They're just like, this is over. It's pretty rare. It's pretty rare for you to be like getting mowed so hard. I mean, you're just getting drugged that guys in studio are like, well, let's talk about something else because that is. Oh, I mean, they're just like, yeah, that conference losing streak that's going to end tonight, and this game's over.
Yeah, I expected,
and you knew it was. I mean, you're like, there's no way that anyone's coming back from this.
I expected them to make some kind of a run in the second half, not come back.
I didn't expect to increase the lead.
No, I thought they would. I thought we'd get tight, like just lethargic and rest on our laurels.
We'd win by 25.
Yeah, and like they'd make that one run where they had an 8-0 run. They hit a couple threes, and then but yeah, I didn't expect it to be that bad. Although it was clear after about 5 minutes that like this is just not their night. Like it's just over.
We beat them by 44 points. That's more points than they scored.
That's wild.
I mean, it was 43-87. That's more than getting doubled up. That is wild for a team that just dropped 92 points on Alabama. And like normally
were they missing anybody? I mean, I know they said that one guy was like kind of weak but like
that dude didn't even play against Alabama. So dude, like, all right. I don't usually like games like this. This isn't the kind of games. I mean, I guess if Arkansas was going to beat everyone by 40 all season, I would like it. I guess. But you want to watch some competitive basketball. But I do think this is maybe exactly what Arkansas needed going on. They're about to go on the road against LSU. Normally, I'd be like, man, you want to like finish a hard game. Let's see us finish a hard game. I don't know if that's exactly what Arkansas needed right now. Arkansas needed a game where they could have fun. Down the stretch where they could root for each other, they could feel good. Like I actually think a blowout against a team, not against some cupcake school or whatever, but in conference, just shellac someone. I wouldn't usually say this, but I do think maybe that is what they needed. That just to know that they're capable of it.
Well, and put on a show for the fans at the home. I mean, because it's been a kind of disappointing conference. I mean, like they've lost. They lost how many? I mean, they lost to Vanderbilt, but then they lost the other one. It wasn't conference, but it's been a disappointing home.
Also, do you know about this? I forgot about this small fact. I know Jake's sitting there with that glass half empty most of the time when it comes to this team so far this year. But let me like put a couple drops in that glass for you. The I had forgotten this fact that Arkansas lost 4 of its first 6 conference games last year.
Mhm.
They started 2-4 in conference and then won the last 11.
Yeah, I kinda did forget that. I
And
for some reason, I always think back I was thinking back to the season, I think it was the one right before COVID where we got, our March Madness usurped by COVID, but that I think that season, they started out, like, 9-0
yeah,
or
we
something like
started out real
that.
good in conference and Isaiah Joe got hurt and we lost some
We lost
games and
6 of 8 or something, or
mm,
4
mm,
of 6 or something like that. But then we still did better at the very end
mm,
and managed to make the tournament, and that was a bummer because I was really looking forward to
yeah.
seeing them play in the tournament. But
Yeah, but last year,
yeah,
yeah, we started out 2-4 in conference play, and then we went then rattled off 11 in a row. And so that doesn't mean we're doing that this year or anything like that, but it is good to remember that that Musselman is a dude that tweaks and tweaks and tweaks, and the his track record is pretty good as far as that stuff goes.
to try to attempt to do any kind of analyzing, I mean, maybe I wasn't paying attention or something because it honestly was almost boring after a little
Hmm.
bit, but um, it's hard to know because Missouri was so bad and it was such a, you know, just a nightmare of a performance from them that did you see anything? I mean, you already said a little bit, but like, was there anything particularly different about the defense or about the offense other than just they, they were obviously feeling it?
Well, I was trying to watch like to see what they were doing that was maybe a little bit different because obviously they went out there with a lineup that was basically Note at the point guard, and then surrounding him with Tony and Williams and Wade and Johnson. I mean, that's you got one sort of ball handling dude out there, and like Note is your point guard for sure at that point. And obviously, I think he obviously did that because he thought we're gonna well, I want to play scrap. I'm gonna play even scrappier. Like I'm gonna be Razorback harder 4 is my strategy going forward. And which we talked about. Playing hard was not their issue, but he's like, we're gonna play even more harder than that and see how that works. And maybe that is the secret, and that's what he's thinking. Is like, no, with this team, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to play harder than you could have ever thought that anyone was going to play basketball, and that's how we're going to do it. As far as the kind of how they were running an offensive set, the only thing I really noticed is that Jalen Williams, they pulled him way out. So Jalen Williams was playing further on the baselines than I've like really seen. Like he was out there a ton. He was way out at the top of the key a ton. I know he gets up there and like does dribble drive handoffs and set screens and all this stuff, but man, he was up there a ton. And if he wasn't up there, he was posted up down low. And they sort of in past games, you've seen him a lot in the high post, and they try to run like sort of run and like
Mhm.
have him pass out of that high post. He was in the high post almost none tonight, and I that has to be intentional, and I think it worked. And I think what the goal was, because what we were saying is a lot of these teams, and Missouri wasn't able to do this to us, but the thing we've been having trouble with is guys getting
Clogging
into
up
getting into the teeth of the defense, like
because it's all clogged up in there with defenders.
yeah, and and other teams have been doing it to us, and so you're sort of like looking at what other teams are doing. You're like, man, people are getting into the lane on us. How come we're not able to do that? And I think they pulled that, even though it's not a bad idea to have Jalen Williams in the high post, and so you can run an offense that way. But I think that Musselman has decided let's try to not do that and spread it. So we're going to do more space and see if we can get some dudes downhill, particularly Note. But I think that's one of the reasons you saw Devo have a much better game. And I think that it's not something I had thought about, but when I'm watching it, I'm like, this is maybe not a bad idea to have Williams try to pull, and you're because the other guys were doing it too, and they just spread out more. So they were if you were going to be if you weren't going to be on the perimeter, you were going to be down low. But they were kind of leaving the key open so that some guys could get in there, and that seemed to work pretty well. And
They're definitely, I mean,
obviously coaches can adjust and try to stop that, but I thought it was a good adjustment. It looked like it worked for most.
like I said, it is hard to know with like I said, I mean, what worked and what was a fluke, but I mean, there did seem to be a lot of room because I mean, they were like the big guys were doing pocket passes in the lane, and I mean, it was just everything that you wanted. I mean, it's literally everything, the opposite of everything they've been doing and everything we've been talking about, and it reversed on Missouri. Like Missouri, when they're the worst 3-point shooting team, and you could see that like we weren't guarding that as tight, and they just couldn't move inside. If they got anywhere near the basket, it was just hands all over them, and it was just a 100% reversal of fortunes from where we've been.
I know this. It's a lot better when you only turn the ball over 8 times. Too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big difference. I mean, obviously twice as much, but like, we've been turning the ball over 16, 18 times, that kind of stuff. You're going to turn the ball. You're not going to have games where you don't turn the ball over. But that Musselman has said before that their goal is 9, that they don't want to hit double-digit turnovers. Well, 8 is less than 9, and that helps.
Yeah. So I guess I'll get the pessimistic part. Like if I'm my pessimistic outlook on that game is, there's a little bit of fool's gold there because sometimes, and like I said, the fact that they beat Alabama shows you that this is definitely partially this. Sometimes it's just inexplicable, and you have those 1 out of every 20 games where it's just a nightmare. And that was, and you have the opposite too. Sometimes there's games where you just can't not score. And this was almost that for Arkansas, but not quite. Like you said, I mean, if you'd break 100 on those games where somehow you score 110 points and your 3-point shooter, whoever is the specialist 3-point shooter, has 10 3-pointers or something like that. Those remarkable games. This was Arkansas playing well on offense, but that once in a nightmare scenario for Missouri. They just really, really let it just snowball on them and get crushed. And so there's a little bit of fool's gold in thinking that, you found anything, and you want to be careful about getting too overly optimistic. I do think that Missouri, although obviously, again, I mean, they are capable of being a good team, their athletes definitely seemed, it was a better matchup for us, athlete for athlete. Like you could tell they were having a hard time turning the corner on us, and they weren't as fast. I mean, maybe part of that is our guys.
We were swarming the ball. I haven't seen us swarm the ball like that. Have you?
No, but I mean, what I was saying is they even said Missouri has all the problems we have, which is they don't have a lot of good shooters, and they don't have a true point guard.
Yeah.
And it just looked like you could see that they didn't have that guy breaking us down.
I need to go watch that Alabama game, I think,
and see what the hell happened. Like, how is that? It doesn't seem possible. But if I'm being so all of that, like, maybe we could still be in try to figure it out mode in the next game.
Oh, sure.
You never know, but the optimistic take, which I think is true as well, is like you said, I really think they needed that. I really think it was a good confidence builder and just team unifier for them to have fun and remember that they are capable of, they deserve to be playing at this level. And also, to remember what it feels like to be in the flow and play together and just have the ball snapping around.
And as much as like, and we've talked about this before, and we've certainly talked about this a lot, not when we're recording stuff, just talking about playing pickup basketball, which we do, every week. But this happens on every level. I see it happen in junior high basketball. I see it happen in high school basketball. I see it happen in pickup basketball, certainly in college basketball, NBA. And you get a team and things start clicking and you get in that flow and like everything's just and something is going on, but like then the momentum builds and you just can't do anything wrong. uh what also is true when you're on a team, that can happen. That can happen for a night in pickup basketball. You just get on team and you ain't losing it. It's not because you have the best players. It's just that that your team has it that night. But for a basketball team that plays a schedule, uh, sometimes that does carry over, and that's what you got to hope is that feeling like, hey man, it was working and I was working. Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does, and sometimes it does for a while, and that's why teams will say, man, this team's won 11 straight games or whatever it is,
You see it happen all the time in the tournament. A
all the
team
time.
that has that isn't nearly as good as, they have a mediocre record and stuff, and they just get hot in the tournament. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody talks about it, and yeah, and I think that hopefully they can build off of this, and I think like personally, I mean, I guess player of the game, I think I'd give it to Wade,
Oh, I would give it to Wade.
because
Oh
I
yeah.
actually think his energy,
Hmm.
what is part of that, like from the jump, he plays with that kind of energy, and I mean, dude, he could just do no wrong in that first 10 minutes. He
No.
even when he took a like one time he caught the ball and did something uncharacteristic, which was he shot like a really long two-pointer turnaround. I mean, it wasn't just that he shot it, it's that he took it and like turned around, faded away from like 18 feet. And it was not a good shot. It was early, and I think we got the rebound and it turned into like a cutting dunk or something. Like
Mhm.
nothing he did turned into a mistake. You know what I mean? And I
He
mean,
was flying around everywhere.
yeah, and it's not just that. It's like because Note does that too, but he does have like a sort of a jovial spirit about him or
Mhm.
something. Like he's just smiling a lot. Um, you see him like when the ball does slip out of his hands. I mean, he kind of like gives his teammates a look and is like, I almost had that one. You guys saw that. Like I don't know, like I don't know what the dynamic is between him and the rest of the players or whatever, but I really dug his energy tonight and felt like he had a lot to do with
Yeah.
sparking that
I
tinderbox.
felt like him and Kamani Johnson had a lot to do with it. I felt like Kamani, like from the jump, was so he just set a tone. I mean, from the first defensive possession, that hey boys, you guys are about to have a war on your hands if you think you're going to rebound.
Hmm.
And he's just that guy, right? And just getting up there, just yanking down offensive boards, putting his shoulder into someone, going back up. Um, those are good. That's just a good tone to set. This is how we're going to do this tonight. I really hope he isn't hurt too bad and is able to go. Because if I was Musselman, I would copy and paste that lineup. Like, not saying that lineup is the long term answer or whatever, but I would copy and paste that until it proves otherwise.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see, man, because we're playing at LSU, and I mean LSU is ranked what? They're ranked 12th in the country right
I
now.
wish we had another home game, just to kind of try to keep that flow going.
Yeah, I mean we're about to find out exactly if they figure much out. And I'm not saying you got to go in and win at number 12 LSU, but you'll be able to tell based on how it goes. Now, of course, I want them to win. I hope they win. I think they could win. Uh, but you don't want to come off a huge win where you got your conference back and have what just happened to Missouri happen to you, because what Missouri just did was feeling themselves probably pretty good and came in and got just run off the court. And I don't think that sort of thing's gonna happen. It's a pretty rare mixture, but hopefully it's the
Yeah,
opposite
I
of that, and
really
you're able to carry that in there and actually get in there and go to war and compete and you and have an outcome that, or at least play in a way that you can feel good about, and that we can say like, okay, it looks good. And I'm not saying we're not. I think there's a decent chance that we can beat LSU. I
I
don't
really
think.
would like it. I mean, that would be awesome. I don't know why, dude. Their coach annoys me.
Wade
Like
annoys you.
his face annoys me. I don't know why. Um, I
I,
mean, probably
I, I,
because
I don't like LSU just period. So in anything. So yeah, and for whatever reason, LSU is a team in football and everything else. Like Arkansas likes to go beat an LSU team that they're not supposed to beat. That's sort of something we like to do. So I'm down for that. Of course, you go in there and win that. If you do go in there and win that game, we might be having a conversation about like, hey, this might be fixed if they do some of that.
yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty cautiously optimistic. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I definitely think that. I mean, obviously, this was just winning was. I mean, dude, I was worried that Missouri might come in and beat us.
yeah.
Like
I
we've
think
been
you.
playing badly.
I think you could tell. I don't know what practices were like. I don't know what the message was that Muss was sending, but uh, I think that you could tell that Arkansas came out and they were feeling that must win situation too. I mean, I think you could tell that they knew they had to get this.
Yeah, I mean, like I agree with what you said. I mean, I feel like it was like they were like, well, if we're gonna have to play that insanely hard for the last 10 minutes anyway, why don't we just play that way in the first 10 minutes and not get down like that?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a better idea for sure because you get that momentum going and you can ride that wave.
And
But
how about we don't let it up this time? I want you got to wonder if Muss is in their locker room. It's gonna be hard. I'm sure it's a harder speech to give where it's like, no, let's not do what we've been doing and let this team go on a run. And you're like, yo, man, we up 30. But I think he probably did give that speech and say like it's 0-0. We got to treat this like 0-0, and that's hard to do, and they were able to do it.
yeah, I mean, I do like that, these other players are coming in and playing really, really aggressively because it's so weird. I mean, 3 games ago or 2 games ago or whatever, when Amude went off, it's like so not what you would have thought that, I mean, it looked like, well, Amude is going to have to be part of the answer here. And he was very light in the rotation tonight. And I mean, he still played well, but for him and Tony, it's probably a good thing that these other guys are getting minutes and it's
Mhm.
putting pressure on them. Like, listen, you guys are probably better offensively than those guys, maybe, but I mean, Amude definitely is. But if you want to get minutes, you're gonna have to get dirty first.
I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
I think
And
you see some of that with Devo. I mean, I think that, and I thought Devo played pretty well tonight. But I mean, he had 15 points and he was slashing through this lane. I mean, he had, I don't know how many steals. He had three steals, and those steals were just straight up him taking the ball away from someone. Um, and I think he probably feeling that pressure too. Like must have been being like, I will start other people. I will play other people. I will not. I will play you 8 minutes a game, like I did in the Vanderbilt game, if that's what I feel like doing. And yeah, Amude, he had 5 points. If what's weird about this game is there, you also didn't have you like blow someone out and no one like went off. I mean, Note had 19, Wade had 17, Williams had 13, Davis had 15. It's like all spread around, and then you had,
Mhm.
Johnson had 4, Tony had 2,
Dude, Tony should have had about 8.
Likes had
He
8.
Tony missed a couple of or let a couple of near dunks get away from him where he caught the ball in a good position and I don't know what happened. I mean, he either got
Connor had
fouled.
Connor had 2 where he just threw a shot in, falling down, which it was that kind of night, I guess. But yeah, man. I mean, though, you had to wish that old Abogast 3 was going to go in at the end. That'd have been it.
Mhm.
If the walk-ons 3 goes in, it was that kind of game. But anyway, man, I don't have a lot else to say. I think Wade, yeah, I want to. This happened once before with Wade. We had another game where we gave Wade.
Yep.
This is Wade's second player of the game, and I guess maybe I'm in the. All right, let's see some more Wade. And can he keep doing that? And I think that's part of it, because Moody's had those games and stuff, and I know like sometimes the minutes go up and down and stuff, and Muslim was trying to find it. But man, once we find it, we need to get some consistency from these dudes. I mean, right now the only consistent is
No,
Jalen Williams is going to draw 3 charges, and Note is going to shoot the ball a lot, and it's going to go in quite a bit. That's all I know for sure is going to happen. And so it'd be nice to kind of once. And I know Musselman is trying to figure out like how the pieces are going to work so we can win games, and that's the most important thing. I'm looking forward to him hopefully doing that, and then you can kind of get some consistency going, and I think that would also be good. Like we need to figure it out so the consistency can start rolling.
Yeah, that'd be nice because it is weird. It's weird how different this team is from like the first couple of games.
And he does do that, he does end up kind of settling in on something, and then he shortens that rotation up. He won't unless if he's still doing this where he's playing this many guys and the lineups changing all the time and stuff. If he's still doing this 5 games from now, we're in big trouble, because that means that we haven't figured it out yet. What you want 5 games from now is that he's playing like 7, 8 dudes. And that means that he feels like he's figured it out.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, man.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully they can carry that into LSU. That'd be nice.
Yep, I agree. All right. Well, I'll see you on Saturday, man.
All right.
All right.
See ya.